What's going on, everyone? So we got some great news in regards to Jarred Vanderbilt. Jarred Vanderbilt has been recalled down to the G League, where he's probably going to play a stint. I see him playing a couple games. This is exciting because this means he is inching closer to a return to an actual NBA. This is something that I've talked about a month ago, that I'd like to see Jarred Vanderbilt, instead of just like rushing back, getting back, and then jumping right into the NBA, go into the G League. And we've seen more of this over the last few years. Like 10 years ago, this was something that like wasn't a thing. Like players were like, absolutely not, I'm not going to the G League, right? Like the G League was looked at as like beneath, right? A lot of players. But over the years, you've seen teams kind of use the G League as like a rehab source for players coming off of injuries that have been extensive. Obviously, if you're out like a week or two or a month or something, then no, you usually see guys just jump right back in. But we've seen guys that have, hey, you've missed X amount of time, let's get you down to the G League and have you play. The Celtics have done it with a couple players too, not even just like rehabbing guys, but just to like get guys reps in. So that way, if they do need them at any point, right, you're seeing the G League kind of become more of an NBA resource than ever before, which I think is what it should be, right? Like that is what it should be. You see like baseball does it a lot, right? Like they'll send them down to their affiliate teams and stuff like that, like players to just get pitching reps or, batting reps, or, they're coming in through rehab and stuff. And it's like, hey, instead of just jumping them into the big leagues, let's get a couple games under your belt. I really do like that this is a direction that you're seeing the NBA kind of take more. Players are more open to it because, hey, this isn't a demotion, right? Like we're not sending you to the G League forever. We just simply want you to get some games under your belt, kind of get used to the pace. And I've talked about, right? Like Jarred Vanderbilt going to the G League, he doesn't have to go 1,000 miles an hour like he does in the NBA. The G League, it's not as fast, it's not as physical, right? So he can kind of get a handful of games under his belt, get a couple games under his legs, right? Talk about a guy that just had 2 foot surgeries, right? I don't imagine that this offseason he was doing a bunch of physical activities and doing a bunch of conditioning stuff and getting a bunch of shots up and doing all these things that you usually do in the offseason. I imagine he kind of was just like, rested up, watching Netflix and just trying to recover and then ramping up and gearing up to a return. Now you've seen him, he's gone through practices, he's done, little walkthroughs and things like that. So take him, be patient with them, because I've said it before, I'd rather him miss the next 10 games so he could play the last 30 plus and then be healthy come playoff time than you rush him back for these next 10 games and then he ends up getting hurt again, and now you miss him for the next 30 games and the playoffs, right? Like the best approach, I think, is this approach where you get him down to the G League, you let him get some reps up, you get to evaluate him, kind of allow, okay, is he ready yet? No, okay, right? Like after, a handful of games, I'm not saying he has to stay there for a month or two or anything crazy like that, but let him play 2 or 3 games to just kind of get his conditioning up, kind of get his pace up, right? Continue to work out with the main roster. I'm sure in the next few days, few weeks, you're going to see a bunch of different like, oh, he's been recalled, he's back on the main roster, he's recalled, he's back on the main roster, because, you want to kind of get him, assimilated, acclimated into the main roster and kind of get him, understanding what type of schemes you're trying to do. How do you want him to operate on the defensive side of things? How do you want him to operate in the offense side of things, right? JJ Redick has talked about how he already has kind of a vision of how he wants Jarred Vanderbilt to operate in the offense to make him productive. I mean, Darvin Ham was able to get him to essentially a double-digit scorer, right? I trust that JJ and this coaching staff will be able to get him to an 8 to 12 point a game range, right? Obviously, the 3-point shooting is probably still not going to be there, but can he at least be serviceable? Right? Can he knock down 1 out of every 3 that he takes? Something like that, that'd be 33%. I also don't imagine he's going to take a bunch of threes, but just the impact overall, right? Like I've talked about with Jarred Vanderbilt, he impacts both sides of the basketball, right? Obviously, we know what he can do defensively. We know how great he is defensively. When he's fully healthy and at his peak, he's the best, if not arguably the best, at worst, perimeter defender, one-on-one defender in the entire NBA. I mean, he can defend 1 through 5 on most nights, right? And even on the nights where, you're playing Jokic, we've seen him hold his own, right? It's not something ideal. It's not like, oh, put Jarred Vanderbilt on Jokic and that's all. But we've seen him get matched up against Jokic and get a stop, right? Like, we know what he can do on the defensive side of things. However, how he impacts the offensive side of things, not really in the traditional sense, right? He's not a guy that's just like crossing dudes over, rising up, knocking down from the mid-range, step back threes, doing all this crazy stuff. He's more impacting the offense by giving the Lakers other opportunities that they wouldn't get otherwise, right? From just a traditional stop, right? You get a stop, you get the board going the other way, right? It's an opportunity for the Lakers. Him getting offensive rebounds or keeping balls alive, tap outs that lead to offensive rebounds, right? Well, that's another opportunity for the Lakers to get another shot up. Him securing the rebound and getting defensive rebounds, right? Guess what? That's another opportunity for the Lakers. Live ball turnovers, regular turnovers, all of these things give the Lakers more opportunities on the offensive side of things, which boosts their offensive production, right? It's obviously up to the rest of these guys to actually put the ball in the hoop, but Jarred Vanderbilt's a guy that can slot in, really kind of impact the game from multiple areas. And, is Jarred Vanderbilt the savior, right? Like, is Jarred Vanderbilt the guy that's like, that's it, no more trades needed, Lakers best team in the league with Jarred Vanderbilt? No. But does he make the Lakers much better? Absolutely, right? Because if he can get back to a version of Jarred Vanderbilt we know, which is a concern, can he get back to that? Will he ever get back to that? Seen a lot of guys go through foot surgeries and they're never the same, especially a guy like Jarred Vanderbilt that's so reliant on his feet, right? His feet and his legs are probably the biggest element to his game, right? With his athleticism and his versatility and his ability to just defend, right? But he's a guy that, we know that defensively, like what he can do and how he can impact and the ground in which he covers, right? Like, he covers so much ground. We've joked about how it's like he's teleporting at times, right? He's over here, now he's over here, now he's over here. A great example, go watch Jarred Vanderbilt highlights versus the Golden State Warriors in that playoffs 2 seasons ago. It is insane how much ground he covered defensively, how much he just harassed Steph Curry. He had sequences where he's on Steph, moving, defending Steph, right? Steph gives the ball up. He switches over, goes and be's the help defender. They dump it back to, he's right back there. They go dump it back to the big fella, and I think it was Kevon Looney, and then Jarred Vanderbilt comes over and blocks the shot. Like, it's just like, you're just like, wow, this guy is ridiculous. And you add that with a Dorian Finney-Smith, right? And Jarred Vanderbilt's ability you basically can slot him in 2 through 4, right? And even on small ball, if you're going small ball, you could have like a Dorian Finney-Smith with like a Jarred Vanderbilt out there, LeBron James, kind of go like the small ball version we've seen, right? And just blitz teams and, have just like that switchability in that defense, right? But also it impacts our defense because right now we're switching everything, right? Everything gets switched. And it's because you don't have the personnel otherwise. Right? Like, the only guy that you really have that can fight through those screens and still recover and, if they do get beat off the dribble, get back and still affect the shot is Dorian Finney-Smith, right? Max Christie even, who has been great, by the way, but he still at times gets stuck in that traffic or gets stuck behind those screens, or he'll slip the screen rather than, it's just, he navigating the screens are still not fully there for him. At times he can be, but he's still very young. He's very inexperienced, so he doesn't really learn that. With Jarred Vanderbilt, he reads screens, he navigates screens very well. He knows how to fight through those screens, get through those screens. If he does go under a screen, right, he's long enough, quick enough, agile enough to get out and still contest and affect the shot, even if they do like stop and try to shoot over. Right? Like he's able to do things that we just don't have anyone else on this roster that's capable of doing. So his impact is immeasurable in that sense, right? We talk about like guys that impact beyond the box score, right? You look at the box score, it's like, this dude's pedestrian. But if you look at and watch the games, the overall games, the impact that they have, we've already seen what Dorian Finney-Smith can do and how much ground he covers and how good defensively he can be and how he can affect shots and defend at the rim and do all those things. Imagine having Jarred Vanderbilt slotted alongside him, right? Also, what's been a big problem? Austin Reeves just getting hunted and targeted. Well, if you have guys like Jarred Vanderbilt and Dorian Finney-Smith out there, you can't do that as much, right? Because now you don't have to switch, right? You just tell Jarred Vanderbilt, hey, do not switch that. If they try to hunt Reeves and they try to swat, Vando, your job is to stay on that man, right? And if there are times where they switch, you see at times guys get lost or whatever. Jarred Vanderbilt's a guy that won't happen to. He's going to be able, and even if he does, he's going to be able to get out quick enough to contest and challenge that shot. So you solve a lot of just like the Lakers' defensive inefficiencies through just Jarred Vanderbilt alone. Now, if you go add in another perimeter guy, you go bring in a Bruce Brown or Alonzo or a Brogdon or something like that can slot in. I mean, you can have defensive units out there where you have, say, like Alonzo with a Jarred Vanderbilt and a Dorian Finney-Smith and a LeBron James and an Anthony Davis, right? Or you could even go like when LeBron is out, right? Move Dorian Finney-Smith to the 4 and go 80 with Dorian. Have like Jarred Vanderbilt at the 3, Max Christie at the 2, and then let's say Alonzo or something. And you got basically everybody on the court but Jarred Vanderbilt being able to knock down threes at an efficient clip, right? Like things like that completely change the landscape of this team. So I'm excited. This is great news. But as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you excited? You kind of disappointed, right? Did you want to see him back already on the main roster? Again, I think that this is really good. Let him get some reps. Let him get a couple games under his belt in the G League, and then make the transition to the main roster. But however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it either way. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.